Hi, Alessandra here, and I will be your narrator for the channel's first ever story video about two lovely ladies in tights. But before I get to the story, how about you hit that like and subscribe button? It helps me and Mr. Nylon make more of these videos and helps the channel overall be noticed by YouTube. And with that out the way, let our story begin. Wet Tights story number 2. This story is true, and it happened in New York in November of 1994. One night at an all-girl party on the Lower East Side, I met a girl from Puerto Rico named Brenda. She was at this club because a friend of hers was lesbian and she had agreed to come along and hang out. I talked with Brenda for quite a while and I thought she was cute. Half reluctantly, she agreed to go out with me a week later to have dinner, though assuring me she wasn't into girls. A week later was a blustery Monday evening, and I headed down to Midtown to meet her where she worked, in an office building as some sort of graphic designer. I recall that I was wearing a short black skirt, a black blouse with printed moon and star patterns, my favorite black patent leather Mary Janes, and a pair of semi-opaque tights in an unusual orange color, what I called cream of tomato soup. The tights were also a little bit shiny. I arrived at Brenda's building and took the elevator up to whatever floor she had told me to go to, and then she showed me around her office a bit. I was amazed to see her, 'cause she looked sexy. Black pullover sweater, a black and gray plaid mini skirt, black pumps, and opaque burgundy-colored tights. Brenda had nice calves too, and it was a pleasure to look at her legs in those smooth, 60-den opaque tights. We left her office and started walking down to a Spanish restaurant she knew. One of the first things she said to me during our walk was, "Look, this isn't going to work out." I said, "Okay, whatever. Let's just go eat and try to have a good time." So we ate dinner in this place around 8th Ave, and it was a nice time. Towards the end of our meal, I could hear thunder and then a heavy downpour outside. We couldn't see the street from where we were seated, but you could hear the rain beating onto the roof of a patio area of to the side. When I heard the rain and thought about us both in short skirts and opaque-colored tights, I instantly wanted to get Brenda outside. We finished off our pitcher of sangria, though, and by the time that the bill was paid, the thunderstorm had passed. When we walked outside, planning on heading over towards Union Square for a drink somewhere, the rains, much to my dismay, had completely stopped. It was a shame, I thought, 'cause I would have loved to have got wet with Brenda. We began walking towards Union Square, but when we came to the First Avenue, we had to cross. There was a huge puddle of rainwater at the intersection. The downpour had been so heavy that there were several fresh and large puddles about the streets. Now here is a moment that I will never forget. We looked at the big puddle of water, and it was Brenda who turned to me and said, "Now we have just got to jump in that puddle." I couldn't believe that she was the one to suggest us getting wet. Within a second, we were splashing each other like crazy. I don't remember if anyone stopped to look at us or what they might have thought. It was so much fun. I was having the time of my life. We crossed that avenue and went on to another, and soon we were running up to every puddle we saw and started kicking as much water up onto the other as we could. I remember the cold water splashing up under my skirt and even soaking my panties. There is one particular image I can still remember because it was so nice. Once we reached Union Square Park, there was a massive puddle near 14th Street, and I can recall very vividly Brenda running towards me, kicking a big wave of water on me, and then retreating away, and as she ran back, I can still remember seeing the entire back of her gorgeous legs brightly shining in those soaking wet burgundy tights. So my own cream tomato soup tights were also nice and soaked, and we both had our skirts clinging to our thighs and water flushing out of our shoes. At one point, as we were about to go into a cafe to have a drink and warm up, we stopped and Brenda started rubbing her legs to make them warm. Then she reached over and rubbed mine for a second too. When I pointed out how shiny our wet tights were, I remember her commenting, "It's the lycra." Well, we ended up in some anonymous Greek diner and had a couple of glasses of wine. We sat across from each other on leather booths. Brenda took her shoes off and put them up on my seat, and I did the same. Perhaps some of you dirty fans might like this part, because I can remember when we began massaging each other's soaking wet nylon feet, and remarking upon the black stains the shoe dye had left on our tights. You could almost see an outline of faded dye on my orange tights, and I remember Brenda's toes also having some black stains from her pumps as well. The rest of the story goes on that she did invite me back to her place in Hoboken to spend the night. Not bad for something that wasn't going to work out. I can vaguely remember that by the time we got the train to her place, our legs were pretty much dry, but our feet were still very damp in our wet shoes. Unfortunately, Brenda went to the bathroom and stripped out of her tights as soon as we reached her place. I won't go into the details of our sex, but with her not being used to handling another girl in bed, it wasn't very good. The thing I remember about Brenda was not our sex, but our unexpected splashing and her beautiful legs in those glistening, burgundy, opaque tights.